Hey guys, Magnus here bringing you another video, and yeah, we're going to do another costumes ranked video. Kind of want to get these out the way. Last time I did one was 4 days ago, so near enough a week. It's near enough 5 days. So I decided to do another one. Now, I still can't do Marge. The costume still hasn't come out. I think I'm going to do this episode, and then I'll wait for the Marge costume to come out. But I thought Grandpa is technically a Simpson, and I said I want to do the Simpsons family first, so hell, I'll just do the Simpsons family as, you know, I'll do Grandpa, because he counts as the Simpsons family. So yeah, we're going to be ranking all of Abe's costumes from worst to best. Now, Abe in total has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 costumes, so it won't be too long. We haven't got loads to rank, but yeah, it should be an interesting video, so let's get into the worst costume, or at least the worst costume that I think is in the game. Number 111. Now, I hate putting the Stonecutter costume so low, and I hate having to say that this is the worst costume, but there is a very good reason for it being the worst costume, and that is it has 0 animations. Now, animations, I think, are a staple of costumes. Now, the reason why I think costumes are or should be a thing, or the thing that I think should be a justification for a costume is, one, does it actually show that particular character in a completely different light, as in, does it, you know, show the character, is it like a different alter ego to the character, or something they've worn very many times through the show, or something from a particular episode that is justified. Now, I like all the Stonecutter's costumes, I do, but there is 0 animations with this costume, and I really think they could have added something, and I really wish they did add something for this costume, even if it was just like a little swig beer and sing the song kind of thing. You know, like, he has a bunch of tasks, and they all go into the Stonecutter's lodge and the daycare center and the brown house and things like that. So just kind of very standard things, but there is no animations. And animations, I think, are should be a thing for justifying whether you have a costume or not. Because if there's going to be no unique animations for that costume, then what's the point of the costume in the first place? And yeah, like I said, I do like the Stonecutter's costumes, and I do feel kind of bad putting it as the worst, but the main reason why I'm putting it as the worst is because it has no animations. Now, it was, of course, free in the Stonecutter's event. You could get this by solving the little puzzle, the little riddle thing, and then it re-returned in the Stonecutter's Black Market sale for 50 donuts, and then it also appeared in the mystery box in the book stops here and not yet spring cleaning, so that's kind of cool, but it was free the first time, but then they made it donuts, and I really don't think it's worth donuts at all. If it's got no animations and it's just, you know, just a costume, to me it's not really that worth it, apart from, you know, trying to collect all the Stonecutters. So yeah, that's the bottom, number 111. Honest Abe. Now, the reason why I'm putting Honest Abe so low, and this is the most recent Grandpa costume that we've got, the reason why I'm putting this one so low is I question if it really is really justified as a costume. And the reason why I say that is if you've watched the Gorgeous Grandpa episode, this actually is something he kind of transforms into after he realizes that he doesn't want to kind of you know, do what Burns says, and he doesn't want to be honest. You know, he doesn't want to be Gorgeous Grandpa anymore. He wants to be you know, he doesn't want to be this villainous wrestler anymore. He wants to be this kind of honest wrestler, and so he turns into Honest Abe halfway through a match, and it's really briefly there. He's not Honest Abe for a while, is what I'm trying to say. He's Honest Abe very briefly, but before he was Honest Abe, he was Gorgeous Grandpa. So the reason why I'm saying I don't think it's justified is I think Honest Abe could have just been an animation for the Gorgeous Grandpa costume, and that's what I think they should do for Liberty Lad. I think that's what it's called. In the, I think there's another thing that Bart becomes in his wrestling you know, his wrestling alter ego in the Gorgeous Grandpa. Like, if they were to add the one, Beautiful Boy, yeah, he becomes Liberty Lad. So, for example, I think that Liberty Lad should just be an animation for Beautiful Boy or Beautiful Bart or whatever that costume is called. Or, I know that hasn't been added yet, but if they were to add it, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah, I just don't think it was wholly justified as a costume. I don't really think it's particularly necessary. I think this really could have just been an animation for Gorgeous Grandpa. Although, yeah, that wouldn't have been so great. We would have missed out on a prize. They definitely could have just replaced Honest Abe where he was on the prize track. They could have just replaced Honest Abe with another wrestler. You know, kind of another blink and you miss it. Yeah, and that's the reason why I don't think Honest Abe is a particularly great costume. There is 2 animations: Get the Spa treatment, which is okay, and Strut, which is, kind of meh. It's not really much there. Get a Spa treatment is kind of funny, but the Strut one is just him, doing little struts. Nothing too amazing. Yeah, it's not a great costume in my opinion. Obviously, it was free, which is always good, but like I said, the main reason why I'm putting it this low is I think it was more justified for this to be an animation than for this to be a costume. Toreador Grandpa. So this, of course, is or you can call it the Bullfighter Grandpa if you want. So this costume, of course, was added in the Springfield, the sporty Springfield, the tap ball event. That's what I'm trying to find. And then it was re-added at Marge of the Bat for 85 donuts. Then it was added at Springfield Games and Football 2017 for 75 donuts, but it was originally released as 85 donuts. I think this was a very overpriced costume. Well, not very overpriced, but slightly overpriced. I think a costume should be no more than 60 donuts. That's what I think anyway. So in my opinion, I think it's 25 donuts overpriced. And then it was 15 donuts overpriced. So yeah, it's been overpriced a few times. But also I think the animations are okay. The taunt one is cool enough, and the frame attack is fine as well. Yeah, I mean, I think Grandpa definitely looks quite cool in it. Like a bull catcher. He looks cool in it. I think there's there's 2 cool animations, I think. And yeah, but it was just slightly overpriced, so I think that's why I'm placing it here. 15 donuts, 25 donuts overpriced isn't too bad, but I still think that should be taken into consideration. And 15 donuts overpriced is obviously better, so I think here is a fair enough place for this costume. So yeah. The Rambler. Oh, it's a superhero costume, and you know how I feel about these ones. Yeah, I like superheroes costumes. Of course, this was added in the Superpowers event. It has never re-returned, but I think that's partly because there's not been another superhero update yet. This was 60 donuts. It came on its own. Obviously, you could buy Iron Lung with it. No, not with it, but you could buy Iron Lung in the same event. So obviously, they were both 60 donuts. 60 donuts, like I say, is the price I think a costume should be at the very most. And, it's 60 donuts. So I think it's finely priced, in my opinion. So let's look at the actual costume itself. So we've got 2 animations, play cards, which I think is fine, but bore criminals to sleep I think is pretty funny, so I like that animation. The other animation is okay. Obviously that one requires Iron Lung though. And then it's got 3 other tasks as well, one in the Simpsons house, one in Krusty Burger, and another in the Simpsons house. Yeah, I think he looks kind of cool as well. He looks stupid, but I think that's perfect because it fits into the character. And yeah, this costume itself isn't particularly like iconic or anything because it comes from literally like a little end segment of one of the episodes. So in that kind of respect, it's not a particularly well remembered costume. It literally is just from a little kind of gag scene from the end of an episode. But I don't think that necessarily, I don't really want to take episodes as my justification. So I think in that vein, I think that's the reason why I'm placing it here. I think it's a fair place. It's better than the previous 3 in my opinion, but it's not better than the ones that are going to come after it. So yeah, that's my justification for the Rambler. Count Grampa. So this is his vampire costume. Yeah, I like this costume. I think it's kind of cool. Obviously, we got 2 animations, Struggle to Feed and Change Form. Both are really cool animations for this costume. He looks kind of cool. It is just Grandpa in a cape with vampire teeth, but I still think he looks kind of funny. And of course, this costume was free in the Treehouse of Horror XXIX event, which was 2018. So yeah, I think there's some good things for this costume. This costume is kind of cool overall. It's got some cool things in it, but some cool animations. But yeah, it really just comes down to me liking the other costumes more. But yeah, this is definitely a good costume. I think this one is pretty cool. I do remember the episode it's from. I wouldn't exactly go as far to say it's iconic, but I still think it's a cool costume. I think it's somewhat justified as a costume as well, and yeah, it's cool enough to get it. So yeah, that's Count Grandpa. Gorgeous Grandpa is number 2. So yeah, I like this costume a lot. I think that the fact that obviously we've essentially got a whole event based around this costume, or at least the episode that this costume comes from, which is the Simpsons wrestling. It's not like I like that event in particular, but I like the idea that this costume has basically kind of led to that event. And I was tempted to place this as number 1, but I can't, for the main reason that when they made Simpsons Wrestling, they didn't make this costume free, which they really should have. Now, considering in the original episode tie-in, which this costume was added in, and it was an episode tie-in for the episode Gorgeous Grandpa, they made this costume free for all players. They should have done this again in Simpsons Wrestling, and the reason why I think that is because the entire event is based on that episode, so the fact that they didn't make him free is really strange to me. So that's why I can't place him any higher than this. I can't make him number 1, and he possibly could have been number 1 because he's got 3 animations, which is great. Powder Puff, which I think is funny, Admire Himself, which I think is also funny, and Prance and Preen is also very funny. I would have liked a actual wrestling animation in there as well, but I still think that there's some good, 3 good animations to this costume. So like I said, it was originally free, which is always good. And then it was re-added in the Yard Sale 2014, Tap Ball, and March of the Bat for 75 donuts. In Thanksgiving 2018 and the All-American Auction, it was for 20 donuts. And in Simpsons Wrestling, it was 65 donuts. So although, yes, they cut 10 donuts from the original kind of the original donut price for it, They should have just made it free. They should have just made it be unlocked when you start the event. And I really wish they would do that more often for kind of returning items, because there's a strong reason for this being free, because that's what the whole event is based on. Let's reward the players who are playing the event, especially considering you released this costume as free originally when it was added to the game. So it doesn't make sense to me that for them to make it donuts. However, it was free originally, which is always a good thing. So if you were playing back then, you would have got this free. You would have got this completely free without doing anything really. And I think the costume is cool. It's got 3 animations. It was also Grandpa's very first costume, so it's got a special place, I think, as well. Of course, it's a regular appearance of his in that episode, the episode it's from, so I wouldn't say it's iconic, but I at least would, I'd say it's iconic to that episode, but I wouldn't say it's iconic to the series overall, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't mean that the costume's bad, necessarily. So yeah, I think that's all my justification for why it's number 2, but at the same time, I've kind of given my justifications for why I don't think it should be number 1. Although, yes, it has 3 animations, which is cool as hell, I just don't think it really deserves to be number 1. But yeah, Gorgeous Grandpa, not in any way a bad costume, but not number 1. But anyway, what is number 1? Can we have that little drum roll, please? So, number 1 is Hellfish Abe. Okay, Hellfish Abe. And I have to say this, I don't think it's a perfect costume for one reason, and that's the price. So it was 190 donuts if you wanted to get this costume, but to be fair, you also got another costume for Burns. You got a building that was 35, a building which was the Hellfish Monument. You got a decoration as well. Now I think both of the costumes together, like I said, 60 donuts each, so that's 120 donuts for the costumes. Add on, I would say 35 for the building. It's not a particularly great building. I think a building can be worth up to 70 donuts, I would say, depending on how cool the building is. But this particular building isn't that cool. It doesn't have any. It should be a decoration, really. So I think 35 at the most for this building. So I add that on. That makes 155 donuts. And then we have one decoration, which I think at the most is worth 25 donuts. So I'd say that this deal should have been 180 donuts, in my opinion. So I'd say it's 10 donuts overpriced. However, the Hellfish Bonanza thing, you might disagree. If you think the building is cool as hell, then I guess you could add the extra 10 donuts for the building. But I don't know. I just think the building is kind of crappy. So I don't think the building should be shouldn't be any more than 35 donuts. Right? That's what I think it's kind of worth. But yeah, I mean, that's just my opinion. So I think at the most it's 10 donuts overpriced, maybe 5 donuts overpriced, which isn't a big deal, but it's still a thing. But however, I still love this costume. I think Abe looks cool as hell. Of course, this is a big part of his backstory. I would go as far to say it's somewhat iconic to the series as well. I think the Hellfish episode is definitely in people's kind of top 10 or top, well, maybe not top 10, but top 50. I'd say it's probably in my top 20, maybe 30. Obviously, we've got a couple of cool animations. Save the Day, which is pretty cool, and Honor Fallen Hit Hellfish, which is pretty nice as well. I would have liked another animation where he's like dodging a grenade or something, but oh well. The only complaint I really have about this costume's appearance is, obviously this is like older Grandpa in the costume, where originally I kind of would have preferred it if it was like a younger Grandpa, but as the years have gone on, I think I still appreciate this costume a lot. I still think it looks cool as hell. Yeah, it's a cool costume. I think he looks cool in it. There's cool animations in it. I think the price is fairly fair. At the most, like I said, 10 donuts overpriced. But yeah, overall, I think the costume's cool. So that is my opinions. But anyway, guys, tell me your thoughts on what you think the Abraham's costumes are, like best ranked to, give me your list from worst to best, or maybe give me your top 3, or maybe just give me your top 1. But anyway, like I said, that will be the end of the video, so I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching as always, and yeah, goodbye.